Hey everyone, this is Brucer for MTG, and in today's video I'm going to be playing with a budget version of Sultai Ultimatum, or at least a slightly budget version. Sultai Ultimatum, the nature of the deck is that it needs a lot of rare and mythic wildcards to craft, and while that is true in this version, I've tried to cut down a bit on the number of rares and mythics. Obviously, a deck like Sultai Ultimatum is obviously going to need a lot of powerful rares and mythics to win the game, but hopefully this version has less than other versions might need. So some of the main budget changes we made to this deck are, firstly, it's for best of one, so no sideboard, which cuts out a lot more wildcards. Also, we're playing less copies of some of the more powerful mythics like Alrund's Epiphany and Valki, God of Lies, and we're replacing some of the pathway lands with temple lands because the temples have been in the game for longer, which means that you're more likely to have acquired them over the course of the game. So we'll be playing some games with that deck today. Currently I'm at Platinum Tier 4. I haven't played too much so far this season, but let's hop into some games and see how it goes. Alright, let's hop into our first game. On the play against Duress, so it might be a rogues deck, but this hand seems fine. I think that I'll lead here on the Temple, and I'm definitely wanting an Elspeth's Nightmare against a deck that is probably rogues. Right, that's almost certainly rogues. If they have Lurrus as a companion, and then you can see that they also play a land that's blue and black, and that's likely going to be rogues. We'll just play this tapped here. And then hopefully this turn they play a creature into our Elspeth's Nightmare, and we can just get a really nice 3 for 1. Alright, nice. So we do have to pay 3 life here, but it's definitely worth the cost. Not only do we get to take out the Merfolk Wind Robber, but considering that we'll also get to discard a card from the hand and then exile their graveyard, that is just a lot of value for one 3 mana card. Alright, and they're playing Soaring Thought Thief. Alright, let's have a look at their hand. I mean, Interstory is just draws them more cards, so it makes sense to take that one. Then we'll play Wolfwillow Haven on here. Make sure to play it on the black land, because that way you can still actually have the mana to cast a Heartless Act. And I have no other ways to use my mana this turn, so we'll just play a Temple. Again, I think I like Binding here. Binding just seems like a good answer to any more threats they might have. They're just going to put a Lurrus into their hand. But it's fine because we're going to exile their graveyard this turn. Again, I'm not going to play Bala Ged Recovery as its land side, because against rogues, they're a deck that's putting a lot of cards in your graveyard, so it's worthwhile to keep this in your hand to be able to use the sorcery later on in the game. And if they go for a Lurrus here, that's pretty great for us, because we should just be able to Binding it. They're going to go for Off On Mind. Okay, so we're going to be cracking this passage anyway, so it makes more sense to crack it now, because it'll make our scry a lot more impactful. I'll just find an island. And let's play out this Omen and see what we can hit. Shadow's Verdict and a Swamp. Don't think I'm interested in a Swamp, but I will take a Shadow's Verdict here. And another Elspeth's Nightmare. That's probably one of the best cards to find here. They might have a counterspell, but that's fine. If they want to use a counterspell on Elspeth's Nightmare, I'm very happy with that. And now here, I will just play this as a land, because I want to continue to hit land drops. That's something that's very important to do when you're playing the Sultai deck. Okay, so Duress, this could just get massively blown out if they don't have another counterspell. Let's see what they do. They play land. I assume they'll definitely attack us. Okay. I'm gonna play Binding first because I would rather Shadow's Verdict resolve than Binding. I would rather this one get countered. If they do have another counterspell, which they might not even. Yeah, they don't. Alright, so we're definitely taking out Duress. And then I'm gonna main phase this Omen, because if we find a land, like obviously I wouldn't want to find a land, but if we do end up drawing a land like this, that means that we can at least play it this turn. And now let's see what they do. Again, they really need to counterspell for this Yorion, otherwise Yorion is just going to have an insane amount of value. It's going to draw 2 cards and get rid of a Thieves' Guild Enforcer. Looks like they're flooding out a bit. Okay, so we take 1. I'm going to find Ketria Triome in case we draw a Valki and we need the red mana to cast it. Okay, and Yorion instantly resolves, which is great. Again, with the amount of lands that they have, I don't think that we're ever going to be able to cast Jwari Disruption to actually counter a spell, so it's better just to play it as a land here. Okay, and there's an Emergent Ultimatum, which is just perfect right now, but I'm not interested in any of those lands. Okay, 2 Emergent Ultimatums. And Rogues is like traditionally an unfavorable matchup, but if you tech your deck and sideboard to beat Rogues with Sultai Ultimatum, it's not unwinnable. It's hard, but far from unwinnable. If they go to Crack Passage here, I am gonna use this Owner of the Sea before they get the Runecarve ability, because I don't mind them milling Duress, but I would rather Shadow's Verdict stay in my deck so that I'm able to get one off one of these Emergent Ultimatums later in the game. And an Into the Story, which is fine. Just find a Zagoth Triome and cast Ultimatum. Let's see what we have in our deck. Right. They know the game is over. So that's how to beat Rogues with this deck. It's really, it is a very hard matchup, especially when they have a lot of draw spells and counter spells, but it is far from unwinnable. Alright, so we'll hop into another game here. Again, I think this hand is fine on the draw. It's not great by any means, but we have blue source, black source, green source, which should hopefully be good enough. Okay, looks like Monoraid aggro. Definitely Monoraid aggro. I'll just play a land and pass here. Again, this hand seems actually really good against Monoraid. We have this Elspeth's Nightmare. We have this Eliminate, both of which are really strong against Monoraid. So we'll just see how this matchup plays out. Okay, so they could have a Robber of the Rich. Looks like they just have another 1-drop, and another 1-drop. Okay, that's one of our better draws here. I'll just eliminate something this turn. Like if they play one of their 3-drops, like an Anax or something. Or if they just go to attack, I will just eliminate the Fervent Champion. And then we end up taking 2 here, but that's fine. Yeah, let's see what they have. They have a Bone Crusher Giant. And another 1-drop. So we'll just take out one of these. Again, they could have land Embercleave next turn, but hopefully they just won't have that. And hopefully we'll also just be able to start to stabilize here. The Faceless Havens are going to be really annoying to beat. Yeah, so they have a Torbran in hand. Extinction Event was a really nice draw there. So we'll just get a green source here. And just play Extinction Event on odd. That takes care of all their creatures. And yeah, they're going to start taking with Faceless Havens, which is a really hard card to beat because it gets around your board wipes. So I think a way to beat the Faceless Havens is hopefully to be able to get down a Yorion and just use that to block them. If they attack here, I'll just take it. Okay. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, so they can still only animate one of these Faceless Havens. So I'll just play Yorion. No point in flickering that. Just play out a tap land and pass. And hopefully we will be able to stabilize and actually survive to be able to cast some of these really powerful cards in our hand. Alright, sweet. Cultivate seems great here. It helps us find enough mana to be able to cast our 7 mana spells. It's not quite as good as a land, an untapped land, but it's still fine. And here I think I'm just gonna make this Valki into a copy of Torbran. This way we can trade the Valki for one of the Faceless Havens if they come swinging, so they're really not in a position to be attacking at the moment. Okay, and here first we can just take an extra turn. Alright, and they concede. So that was a pretty good game. Again, we ended up stabilizing against Monoraid, which is pretty hard to do when you don't have a sweeper, but we were able to find a sweeper and stabilized through Yorion and Valki. Alright, let's hop into one last game with budget Sultai Ultimatum. This hand seems good, nothing to complain about. We have lands, we have spells, seems like a keep. And this could be the mirror match. They are playing Yorion as a companion. It could also be blue-black control, which does seem like a fairly awful matchup. but we'll see how it goes. Alright, Duress is nice. Let's just take a look at their hand. Okay, well the only card that matters there is the Gravenlaw, because those cards are very dead in this matchup. So it looks like this is definitely blue-black control. Now this card could either be, it has two cards that it is likely to be, which are the 2-mana counterspell, Saw It Coming, and also, I forget what the card name is, but it's the 4-mana to be able to draw 2 cards, but you can foretell it for 2 mana, so it could be either of those. Let's just see what it is. Okay, and they're missing land drops, which is super good for us. Let's just continue to develop mana. Put the green land into play, but it doesn't really matter here. Just play this out tapped. Omen of the Sea. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I'm fine with Omen of the Sea here. It's not great, but nothing really to complain about. Okay, and they're just going to concede. Looks like they had mana issues, but either way, I think we're in a good shape that game, because if you look at their hand, most of it was dead cards, and we can actually check. It was a Saw It Coming they haven't had in exile, so they would be able to counter our first Emergent Ultimatum, but then later in the game when we found a red sorcerer, Binding of the Old Gods, and saw more cards through our Omen of the Sea and our Yorion, I think we would have still been able to overpower them with card advantage and just too many threats for them to deal with. Thanks for tuning into the video. If you guys have any feedback on anything related to this video, like how I played, or anything like what you thought of the deck, make sure to say so in the comments. If you thought there were any plays that I could have made better, make sure to let me know. I'm absolutely very new at playing Sultai Ultimatum, so I'm sure there are a lot of plays that I made that were incorrect or could have been done better, but I think I did alright for the most part. Also, if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments ideas that you could have for future videos. Thanks for watching.